The Nexus Arena floated in the cold darkness of space like a massive metal moon. Ships from across the galaxy docked at its ports, bringing warriors and spectators to witness the most brutal fighting tournament in known space. The arena itself was a marvel of engineering, built by 12 different species working together. Its walls could withstand planet-killing weapons, and its energy shields could contain explosions that would level cities. Inside the arena, thousands of aliens filled the stands. The crowd was a mix of creatures that would give nightmares to most humans. There were the insect-like hive queens with their razor mandibles clicking in excitement. The rock-skinned granite lords sat in their heavy seats, their stone bodies creaking as they moved. Flying creatures with bat-like wings circled overhead, their screeches adding to the noise. In the premium boxes, the wealthy and powerful watched through protective barriers, sipping drinks that would poison most other species. At the center of it all was the fighting pit. The floor was made of the hardest metal in the galaxy, scarred by years of combat. Bloodstains that couldn't be cleaned marked where warriors had fallen. The pit was surrounded by energy barriers that shimmered like heat waves, keeping the violence contained and the audience safe. For 3 years running, one fighter had dominated this arena. Zexthal was his name, and he was death in reptilian form. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, his green scales were harder than armor plating. His claws could slice through steel like paper, and his tail could break bones with a casual swipe. He had never lost a fight. More than that, he had killed 17 opponents in previous tournaments, tearing them apart with his bare hands while the crowd cheered. The Vrax Empire, his home nation, considered him their greatest warrior. Children on Vrax worlds grew up hearing stories of his victories. His image was carved into monuments and painted on banners. He was not just a fighter, he was a symbol of Vrax's superiority over the lesser species of the galaxy, but today was different. Today, for the first time in the tournament's history, a human would fight in the arena. Earth had only been discovered by the Galactic Federation 18 months ago. Most species viewed humans as a curiosity at best, a joke at worst. They looked so soft and weak compared to the galaxy's real predators. Their skin had no scales or chitinous armor. They had no claws or fangs worth mentioning. They couldn't fly, couldn't breathe poison gas, couldn't even see in the dark properly. What made it worse was that humans came from what the galaxy classified as a Deathworld. This should have been a warning, but most aliens didn't understand what that meant. To them, Earth was just another dangerous planet. They assumed humans were weak because they had survived by hiding and running, not by fighting. The human delegation sat in a small box near the arena floor. Dr. Helen Ross, Earth's lead xenobiologist, shifted nervously in her seat. She had spent months preparing for this moment, studying the combat techniques of various species, learning the rules and traditions of the tournament. She had worked with Earth's military to select their best fighter for this historic moment. That fighter was supposed to be Lieutenant Commander Jake Carter, a 35-year-old Special Forces veteran with 2 decades of combat experience. Carter had trained his entire life for situations like this. He was fast, strong, and most importantly, he understood the political weight of this moment. Earth needed to make a good showing in its first galactic tournament, but Jake Carter wasn't here. 3 days ago, during a final training session, he had slipped on some ice and broken his leg in 2 places. The injury would heal, but not in time for the tournament. The Federation's rules were clear. Each species could send only 1 fighter, and substitutions had to be approved weeks in advance. Earth's delegation had scrambled to find a replacement. They contacted every military base, every training facility, every combat school on the planet. But there was no time. The tournament started in 6 hours, and faster-than-light travel wasn't fast enough to get anyone to the arena in time. That's when someone remembered that there was already a human on the station. Cadet Alex Murphy, 19 years old and fresh, out of basic training, had been hitching a ride on the transport ship to reach his first assignment. He was supposed to transfer to another ship at the arena and continue to his posting on a frontier world. Alex had been awake for 72 hours straight, finishing his final training exercise before shipping out. He was exhausted, hungry, and looking forward to sleeping in a real bed for the first time in weeks. Instead, he found himself being dragged from his transport by frantic diplomats and told he was about to represent his entire species in mortal combat. The crowd in the arena buzzed with excitement and amusement as word spread that Earth's fighter was just a cadet. Bookmakers throughout the station started taking bets, offering odds of 1,000 to 1 against the human lasting even 30 seconds against Zexthel. Some betting pools were taking wagers on whether the human would run away before the fight. Started. In the Vrax delegation box, General Korth watched the preparations with satisfaction. This would be an easy victory for Zexthel, and it would demonstrate Vrax's superiority over these new humans. The general had studied the intelligence reports on Earth and its inhabitants. They were weak, soft creatures who relied on technology to survive. Without their machines and weapons, they were helpless. The general's aide, a younger Vrax officer named Tusk, shifted uncomfortably. "General, shouldn't we be concerned about fighting someone so clearly outmatched? It might look like we're bullying." A child. Korth's laugh was like rocks grinding together. "These humans need to learn their place in the galaxy. Better they learn it now, with just one casualty, than later when it might cost them much more." Down in the preparation area, Alex. Murphy sat on a bench trying to stay awake. He had been given a brief overview of what was expected of him, but most of it hadn't really sunk in. Fight some alien, try not to die, represent Earth's honor. It all seemed surreal, like a bad dream brought on by too much caffeine and not enough. Sleep. Dr. Ross approached him for the third time, carrying a tablet full of information about his opponent. "Alex, you need to understand what you're facing. Zexthel is incredibly dangerous. His species evolved from apex predators on a world full of massive prey animals. He's stronger than a gorilla, faster than a cheetah, and his claws can cut through tank armor." Alex nodded, though his eyes were having trouble focusing. "Yeah, okay. Big lizard, very scary." "Got it. This isn't a joke," Dr. Ross said, her voice rising with frustration. "This creature has killed 17 sentient beings in combat. He's never been defeated. Never even been seriously hurt." "Right," Alex said, yawning. "So I should probably try to hit him hard then?" Dr. Ross stared at him, not sure if he was being sarcastic or if he really didn't understand the gravity of the situation. Around them, arena workers were making final preparations. The energy barriers hummed to life, casting strange shadows on the walls. The crowd's roar was getting louder as the main event approached. In another part of the preparation area, Zexthel performed his pre-fight ritual. He moved through a series of combat forms, his massive body flowing like deadly water. Each movement was perfect, honed by years of training and battle. His claws left deep grooves in the metal floor where he practiced his strikes. His tail whipped through the air with enough force to shatter bones. The time for talk was over. The greatest combat tournament in the galaxy was about to begin, and for the first time in history, a human would step into the arena. Most of the galaxy expected it to be a very short fight. Alex Murphy rubbed his eyes and tried to focus on what the arena official was telling him. The alien looked like a walking stick insect, all thin limbs and bulging compound eyes. Its voice came through a translator device that made everything sound like it was being spoken underwater. "You must report to Medical Bay 7 for your pre-fight examination," the official said, tapping its datapad with one of its 4 arms. "All contestants must be cleared for combat before entering the arena." Alex nodded and stood up, his body protesting after sitting on the hard bench. Every muscle in his body ached from the training exercise he had just finished. 72 hours of crawling through mud, carrying heavy equipment, and running obstacle courses had left him feeling like he had been hit by a truck. All he wanted was a hot shower and 12 hours of sleep. Instead, he was about to fight an 8-foot-tall alien death machine in front of thousands of spectators. The medical bay was unlike anything Alex had ever seen. The walls were covered in strange devices that beeped and hummed with alien technology. Medical staff from a dozen different species worked at various stations, their equipment designed to handle the wide variety of physiologies that made up The Galactic community, a four-armed doctor that looked like a cross between an octopus and a crab, approached Alex with a scanning device. "Please remove your shirt and stand on the platform," the doctor said through its translator. Alex did as instructed, too tired to be embarrassed by the curious stares of the alien medical staff. The scanner moved over his body, projecting holographic displays that showed his internal structure. The readings made the medical staff exchange glances and whisper among themselves. "Bone density is reading at impossible levels," one technician said to another. "The scanner must be malfunctioning." "Run it again," the doctor ordered, "and check the muscle fiber analysis. These readings suggest this creature could lift 3 times its body weight." The scan ran a second time, then a third. Each time the results were the same. Alex's skeleton was nearly twice as dense as what the medical staff considered normal for a bipedal species. His muscle fibers were packed so tightly that they resembled the musculature of creatures that lived in high-gravity environments. His cardiovascular system showed the efficiency of a long-distance runner combined with the explosive power of a sprinter. "There must be an error in our database," the doctor concluded. These readings would suggest that humans evolved on a world with crushing gravity and constant physical stress. Alex overheard this and nearly laughed. If only they knew about Earth's weather patterns, natural disasters, and the fact that almost everything on the planet was either poisonous, venomous, or trying to eat you. But he was too tired to explain, and they probably wouldn't believe him anyway. Meanwhile, in the main arena, General Korth was making his way down to the preparation area. The Vrax delegation had decided to offer the human a chance to withdraw from the fight. It would be a merciful gesture that would show the galaxy that the Vrax were not mindless brutes who enjoyed slaughtering the weak. Korth found Alex sitting on a bench, staring at the wall with unfocused eyes. The young human looked even smaller in person than he had in the surveillance footage. His uniform was wrinkled, his hair was messy, and he had the general appearance of someone who had been awake far too long. "Human," Korth said, his voice a low growl that the translator rendered into flat, emotionless words. "I am General Korth of the Vrax Empire. I have come to speak with you about your upcoming fight." Alex looked up at the massive reptilian alien standing before him. General Korth was almost as tall as Zexthel, with darker scales and more battle scars. His uniform was covered in medals and ribbons that marked him as a veteran of dozens of campaigns. Even through his exhaustion, Alex could tell this was someone important. "Yeah, hi," Alex said, stifling a yawn. "You're here about the fight thing, right?" "Indeed," Korth said, somewhat taken aback by the human's casual tone. "I wish to offer you an opportunity to withdraw from combat with honor. Zexthel is our greatest warrior. He has never been defeated in battle, and he has killed many opponents in this arena. There is no shame in recognizing when you are outmatched." Alex considered this for a moment. The smart thing to do would be to take the offer. He was tired, unprepared, and facing an opponent who was literally designed to kill things. But something in the alien's tone bothered him. It wasn't just mercy he was hearing, it was pity. And underneath that, there was a hint of condescension. "Thanks for the offer," Alex said, standing up and stretching. "But I think I'll give it. A shot, how bad can it be, right?" General Korth stared at him in disbelief. "You do not understand. Zexthel will tear you apart. Your species is not built for combat. You have no natural weapons, no armor, no enhanced strength. You are soft creatures who rely on technology to survive." "Maybe," Alex said with a shrug. "But I'm here now, so I might as well try. Besides, if I back out now, I'll never hear the end of it from the guys back home." The general's translator struggled to process the human concept of peer pressure motivating someone to face certain death. In Vrax culture, honor was important, but survival was paramount. No warrior would throw away his life for something as trivial as what his friends might think. "You are either very brave or very foolish," Korth said finally. "Probably both," Alex replied. "Is there anywhere I can get some coffee around here? I'm having trouble staying awake." This request confused the general even more. The human was about to face the most dangerous warrior in the galaxy, and he was worried about finding a stimulant beverage. It made no sense, as General Korth walked away. Shaking his massive head in bewilderment, Alex made his way to the fighter's lounge. The room was filled with warriors from previous fights, some nursing injuries, others celebrating victories. They all stopped talking when he entered, staring at the small human who had volunteered to fight Zexthel. An insectoid fighter with multiple arms approached him. "You are the human who fights next?" "Yes, I am Kliktar. I fought Zexthel 2 years ago." Alex looked at the alien's numerous scars and missing limbs. "How did that go for you?" "Not well," Kliktar admitted. "He broke 3 of my arms and cracked my carapace in 12 places. I was unconscious for 6 days. But I survived, which is more than most can say." "Any advice?" Alex asked. "Run fast and hope he gets tired," Kliktar said. "Or better yet, forfeit the match and live to fight another day." Alex nodded politely but wasn't really listening. He had found a machine that dispensed something that looked like coffee, though it tasted like motor oil mixed with sugar. Still, the caffeine was starting to work, and he was feeling slightly more alert. Around the lounge, other fighters were placing bets on how long the human would last. The consensus seemed to be somewhere between 10 and 30 seconds. A few optimists were betting on 45 seconds, but only if Alex proved to be faster than he looked. Nobody was betting on the human to win in his private preparation chamber. Zexthel was going through his final combat meditation. He had watched footage of the human and was not impressed. The creature moved like prey, not like a predator. Its eyes darted around nervously, and it showed no signs of the controlled aggression that marked a true warrior. This would be an easy victory, probably his fastest yet. The human would likely freeze in terror when faced with a real predator, making the kill even simpler. Zexthel's only concern was that the fight might be over so quickly that the crowd would feel cheated. He decided he would make it dramatic. He would stalk the human around the arena for a few moments, let the crowd build up their bloodlust, then end it with a single devastating strike. It would be a good show, and it would send a clear message about Vrax's superiority. The announcement echoed through the arena that the final fight would begin in 10 minutes. Alex finished his terrible coffee and made his way toward the fighters. Entrance. His exhaustion was battling with the caffeine in his system, leaving him feeling disconnected from reality. Dr. Ross caught up with him just before he reached the entrance tunnel. "Alex, please reconsider. This isn't just about you anymore. Earth's reputation in the galactic community depends on this fight. If you're killed in the first few seconds, it will confirm every negative stereotype about humans." Alex looked at her tired face and felt a stab of guilt. He hadn't asked for this responsibility, but it had been thrust upon him anyway. The weight of representing his entire species was settling on his shoulders like a heavy blanket. "I'll do my best," he said simply. "That's all I can promise." As he walked into the tunnel that led to the arena, Alex Murphy had no idea that his next few minutes would change the course of galactic history. The tunnel leading to the arena was dark and cold. Alex could hear the crowd roaring above him, their voices mixing together into a wall of sound that seemed to shake the metal walls. His footsteps echoed in the narrow passage as he walked toward the bright light at the end. The arena floor was bigger than it looked from the stands. The metal surface was polished to a mirror shine, marked with scratches and dents from years of combat. Energy barriers hummed around the fighting area, creating a cage of crackling light that would contain whatever happened next. Alex stepped onto the arena floor and immediately felt the weight of thousands of eyes watching him. The crowd noise was deafening, a mix of cheers, boos, and alien sounds that had no human equivalent. Spotlights blazed down from above, making the arena floor as bright as daylight. He looked small and tired, standing in the center of the massive space. His uniform was still wrinkled from the transport ship, and his hair stuck up in several directions. To the watching crowd, he looked like a child who had wandered into the wrong place at the wrong time. The announcer's voice boomed across the arena, speaking in a dozen different languages as translators worked to keep up. In the red corner, weighing 170 pounds, from the recently discovered world of Earth, Cadet Alex Murphy. A few polite claps echoed through the arena, mostly from the small human delegation. The rest of the crowd was silent, waiting for the real show to begin. And in the blue corner, weighing 450 pounds, the undefeated champion of the galaxy, the terror of the Vrax Empire, Zexthel the Destroyer. The crowd erupted as Zexthel emerged from the opposite tunnel. He was even more impressive in person than in the footage Alex had seen. His scales were a deep emerald green that seemed to absorb light, and they rippled with each movement of his massive muscles. His claws were longer than kitchen knives and looked just as sharp. His tail swished behind him like a weapon waiting to be used. Zexthel raised his arms to the crowd, and they responded with a roar that shook dust from the arena ceiling. He was their champion, their perfect killing machine, and they loved him for it. He had given them years of entertainment, turning the arena floor red with the blood of his enemies. The champion looked across the arena at Alex and smiled, showing rows of teeth that belonged in a shark's mouth. To him, the human looked even smaller and more pathetic than he had expected. This would be easy. Alex watched Zexthel's entrance with the detached interest of someone who was too tired to be properly afraid. The alien was certainly big and scary, but Alex had seen big and scary before. Earth was full of creatures that wanted to kill you, from bears and big cats to venomous snakes and poisonous spiders. The main difference was that this one could think and plan. The referee stepped into the center of the arena. It was a tall, thin creature that looked like it was made of living crystal. Its voice rang out clearly across the arena without need for amplification. "Combatants, approach," the referee said. Alex walked forward, his steps casual and unhurried. Zexthel stalked toward the center, his movements predatory and smooth. The size difference was shocking when they stood near each other. Zexthel towered over Alex by more than 2 feet, his massive frame casting a shadow over the smaller human. "The rules are simple," the referee announced. "No weapons, no armor, no outside assistance. The fight continues until one combatant is unconscious, yields, or dies. Medical teams are standing by. The energy barriers will contain all combat within the arena floor. Do both fighters understand?" "Yes," Zexthel said, his voice a low growl that made the translator work hard to keep up. "Yeah, sure," Alex said, stifling another yawn. The crowd found his casual response amusing. Some laughed, others shook their heads in disbelief. This human clearly had no idea what he was about to face. "Then let the combat begin," the referee said. Backing away quickly, Zexthel immediately began his pre-fight ritual. He threw back his head and roared, a sound that was part battle cry and part threat display. The noise was loud enough to hurt human ears, and it echoed off the arena walls like thunder. His claws extended to their full length, and he began to move in a slow circle around Alex. The display was designed to terrorize his opponent into submission. Most fighters would freeze in fear or try to run when faced with such a show of raw power and aggression. Zexthel had won several fights without throwing a single punch, his enemies collapsing from terror before he even touched them. Alex watched the performance with mild interest. The alien was certainly putting on a good show, but all it really did was tell Alex that his opponent was trying to scare him instead of just attacking. On Earth, the most dangerous predators were usually the quiet ones. The crowd was getting excited, expecting to see the human break and run at any moment, betting. Terminals around the arena were still taking last-minute wagers on how long the fight would last. The odds had dropped even further against Alex, with some bookmakers offering 2,000 to 1 against him lasting a full minute. Zexthel finished his display and focused his attention on Alex. The human was just standing there, looking bored and tired. This lack of fear was unusual, but it didn't matter. Fear or no fear, the human would die just the same. The champion began to circle faster, his claws leaving gouges in the metal floor. His tail lashed behind him, and his eyes never left Alex's face. He was looking for the moment when terror would finally set in, when the human would realize what was about to happen to him, but Alex just stood there, occasionally turning to keep Zexthel in sight. He didn't flee, didn't cower, didn't even Seemed particularly concerned? If anything, he looked like he was waiting for something. What are you waiting for? Zexville snarled, his patience finally running out. Are you too scared to move? Alex shrugged. I'm waiting for you to stop dancing around and actually do something. Are we going to fight or not? The crowd gasped at the human's casual response. Speaking to Zexville with such disrespect was unthinkable. The champion's eyes blazed with anger, and his display became more aggressive. He began to move closer, his circle tightening around Alex like a noose. You will regret those words, Zexville sighed, his voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried across the entire arena. I will tear you apart slowly, piece by piece. You will scream for mercy that will never come. Alex nodded as if he was listening to a weather report. Okay, sure. Are you going to do it, or are you going to keep talking about it? That was the final straw. Zexville's control snapped, and he launched himself at Alex with a roar that shook the arena. His massive body moved with shocking speed, claws extended and ready to tear the small human apart. The attack came with the force of a freight train, fast enough that most species wouldn't even see it coming. The crowd held its breath. This was the moment they had been waiting for, the moment when the galaxy's greatest warrior would prove once again why he was undefeated. The human would be dead in seconds, and the tournament would be over, but something unexpected happened. Alex stepped to the side. It wasn't a desperate dive or a panicked scramble. He simply moved one step to his left as casually as someone avoiding. A puddle on the sidewalk? Zexville's charge carried him past Alex, his claws cutting through empty air where the human had been standing a moment before. The champion tried to stop and turn, but his momentum carried him forward. He crashed into the arena wall with a sound like a car accident, his massive body hitting the energy barrier and bouncing back onto the floor. The crowd was stunned into silence. No one had ever avoided Zexville's opening charge before. Most opponents were too scared to move, and those who did try to dodge were never fast enough. But the human had made it look easy. Zexville picked himself up from the floor, shaking his head to clear it. His pride was hurt more than his body, but that made him even more dangerous. He turned to face Alex, his eyes blazing with rage. Lucky, he snarled. You won't be so lucky next time. Alex was standing exactly where he had been before, except now he was facing a different direction. He didn't look winded or stressed. If anything, he looked slightly more awake than he had before. Are you going to try that again? Alex asked. Because if you are, you might want to aim better this time. The insult hit Zexville like a physical blow. No one had ever mocked him in the arena before. No one had ever made him look foolish in front of thousands of spectators. His rage consumed what little control he had left, and he charged again. This time, Alex didn't just step aside. As Zexville rushed past him, Alex threw what looked like a lazy, tired punch. His fist connected with the side of Zexville's head with a sound like a gunshot. The 8-foot-tall champion stopped dead in his tracks. His eyes rolled back in his head, and he toppled forward like a falling tree. The arena floor shook when he hit, and then everything was silent. The fight was over. The arena was dead silent. 40,000 spectators from across the galaxy stared at the unconscious form of Zexville sprawled on the metal floor. The great champion lay motionless, his massive body looking strangely small now that all the fight had gone out of it. A thin line of dark blood trickled from his mouth where he had bitten his tongue when Alex's punch connected. Alex looked down at the fallen warrior with mild curiosity. He poked Zexville's arm with his foot, the way someone might check if sleeping. Dog was really asleep. When the alien didn't respond, Alex shrugged and looked around the arena. Is that it? He called out to the crystal referee. Can I go sleep now? The referee stood frozen, its crystalline body reflecting the arena lights like a confused disco ball. In 300 years of officiating galactic combat, it had never seen anything like this. The fight had lasted exactly 38 seconds, and 36 of those had been Zexville's intimidation display. The medical team rushed onto the arena floor, their equipment beeping and flashing as they checked Zexville's vital signs. The lead medic, a 6-armed creature that looked like a cross between a spider and a doctor, ran scanners over the fallen champion. Concussion, the medic announced to the crowd. Severe but not life-threatening. He should regain consciousness. In a few hours. The galaxy's most feared warrior had been knocked unconscious for hours by a single punch from a tired human teenager. The crowd began to murmur, a low rumble of confusion and disbelief that grew louder by the second. This wasn't supposed to happen. Zexthel was unbeatable. He was death in reptilian form, a perfect killing machine that had never lost a fight. Humans were weak, soft creatures from a backwater planet. Everyone knew this. In the VIP section, General Korth stared at the arena floor with his mouth hanging open. His aide, Tusk, was frantically checking and rechecking the arena's sensor readings on his datapad. "Sir," Tusk said, his voice shaking, "the sensors confirm it. No weapons were used, no hidden technology, no performance-enhancing drugs. The human simply hit Zexthel with his fist." General Korth couldn't speak. Everything he thought he knew about humans, about combat, about the natural order of the galaxy, had just been destroyed by a 19-year-old cadet who looked like he was about to fall asleep, standing up. In the human delegation box, Dr. Helen Ross was having a similar crisis of understanding. She had spent her entire career studying alien biology and physiology. She knew how strong the various species were, how fast they could move, how much damage they could inflict and survive. Her calculations had shown that a human had virtually no chance against a Vrax warrior in hand-to-hand combat, but her calculations had been wrong, terribly, impossibly wrong. "How?" she whispered to herself, staring at Alex as he yawned and stretched in the middle of the arena. "How is this possible?" Around the arena, other scientists and military analysts were asking the same question. Emergency conferences were being called. Data was being rechecked. Intelligence reports about Earth and its inhabitants were being pulled from archives and studied with new urgency. The betting terminals throughout the arena had crashed. The computers couldn't process what had happened. Millions of credits had been wagered on various outcomes for the fight, but no one had bet on a 38-second victory for the human. The bookmakers were facing financial ruin, and some were already claiming that the fight had been fixed somehow. Alex walked over to where the medical team was working on Zexthel. The alien medics flinched back from him, suddenly afraid of the small human who had just done the impossible. Alex didn't notice their fear. He was too tired to pick up on social cues. "Is he going to be okay?" Alex asked, looking down at the unconscious champion. The lead medic nodded quickly, too nervous to speak. Alex seemed satisfied with this and turned to leave the arena. He had done what was asked of him, and now he wanted to find somewhere to sleep. But the crystal referee finally found its voice and called out to him. "Wait, you are the victor. There must be a ceremony." Alex stopped and turned around. "A ceremony? Yes. You are the new champion. There are traditions to observe, speeches to be made, honors to be awarded. Can't someone else do that stuff?" Alex asked. "I've been awake for 3 days straight. I just want to find a bed." The referee looked confused. In its long experience, warriors who won the Galactic Championship were usually eager for the glory and recognition that came with it. This human seemed to view his victory as a minor inconvenience. That was keeping him from taking a nap. The crowd was starting to get restless. Some were calling for an investigation into how the fight could have ended so quickly. Others were demanding to know what kind of enhancement drugs the human had used. A few were beginning to realize that maybe, just maybe, they had seriously underestimated what humans were capable of. General Korth made his way down to the arena floor, his mind racing with the implications of what he had witnessed. If one tired human cadet could defeat Zexthel so easily, what could a fully trained and rested human warrior accomplish? What could an entire human army do? The general approached Alex carefully, as if he were walking up to a sleeping predator. "Human," he said, his voice respectful in a way it hadn't been before. "I must ask you something." Alex looked up at the massive Vrax general. "Yeah? How did you move so fast?" "Our senses show that you reacted to Zexthel's charge before he had even fully committed to the attack. That should be impossible for any species." Alex thought about this for a moment. "I don't know." He was pretty obvious about what he was going to do. Big wind up, lots of noise, charging straight ahead. It wasn't exactly subtle, but the speed, General Korth pressed. How did you move that quickly? I didn't move that quickly, Alex said. I just moved when I needed to. He was the one moving fast, not me. This explanation made no sense to General Korth. In Vrak's combat philosophy, speed was everything. The faster warrior almost always won. But this human was claiming that he had won by moving slowly and timing his response perfectly. And the punch? The general continued. How did you generate enough force to knock out a fully grown Vrax warrior? Alex shrugged again. I hit him in the head, hard. But humans are supposed to be weak. Your species has no natural weapons, no enhanced strength, no combat adaptations. Who told you that? Alex asked, genuinely curious. General Korth realized he couldn't answer that question. The information about human capabilities had come from the initial contact reports, which had been based on observing humans in their natural environment. But maybe the observers had missed something important. Across the arena, news crews were broadcasting the fight results to every corner of the galaxy. The footage of Alex's casual victory was being analyzed frame by military experts and scientists. Slow-motion replays showed that the human had indeed moved with impossible precision and timing. Dr. Ross finally managed to collect herself enough to approach Alex. Her mind was spinning with new theories about human evolution and capabilities. Alex, she said, I need to ask you some questions about your training. What training? Alex asked. I just finished basic training. Before that, I was just a regular guy from Ohio. But you must have had some kind of combat instruction, some kind of specialized preparation. We learned how to fight a little bit in basic, Alex admitted. But mostly it was just fitness training and learning how to follow orders. Nothing special? Dr. Ross stared at him. If Alex was telling the truth, then everything the scientific community thought they knew about human physical capabilities was wrong. Dead wrong. The implications were staggering. If an untrained human with no special preparation could defeat the galaxy's greatest warrior while exhausted, what were humans really capable of when they were fresh, trained, and prepared for battle? Around the galaxy, military planners were beginning to ask the same question. Emergency meetings were being called in capital cities across dozens of worlds. Intelligence agencies were scrambling to gather more information about Earth and its inhabitants. The balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted, and most people didn't even realize it yet. Alex yawned again and looked around at all the aliens, staring at him. Seriously, can I go sleep now? I'm really tired, the crystal referee nodded quickly. Of course, champion. Of course, as Alex walked toward the exit tunnel, followed by a crowd of reporters and officials, he had no idea that his casual victory had just changed the course of galactic history. All he knew was that he had won a fight, and now he could finally get some rest. Behind him, the medical team was loading Zexthal onto a stretcher. The former champion was still unconscious, and would remain so for several more hours. When he finally woke up, he would find that the galaxy he knew had changed forever. 3 months had passed since the fight that changed everything. Alex Murphy sat in the mess hall of the Earth Defense Station, drinking coffee and reading reports on his datapad. The coffee was much better than the stuff he had found at the arena, and the reports were mostly boring updates about trade negotiations and diplomatic meetings. He had been promoted to sergeant after the fight, though he still wasn't sure why. All he had done was punch an alien and knock him out. People acted like he had saved the galaxy or something. The whole thing seemed blown out of proportion to him. The mess hall was busy with the usual mix of human military personnel and alien visitors. The aliens acted differently around humans now, more carefully and respectfully. They no longer saw humans as weak creatures who needed protection. Instead, they treated them like dangerous predators who might bite if provoked. Alex found this change amusing but weird. He was the same person he had been before the fight. He hadn't gained any special powers or become some kind of super soldier. He was just a guy who had gotten lucky against an opponent who had underestimated him. Dr. Helen Ross entered the mess hall and spotted Alex at his usual table. She had spent the last 3 months writing papers and giving lectures about her discoveries regarding human biology. Her research had turned the scientific community upside down and made her famous throughout the galaxy. "Good morning, Alex," she said, sitting down across from him. "How are you adjusting to your new assignment?" "It's fine," Alex said, not looking up from his datapad. "Pretty easy job, actually. Just follow diplomats around and try to look intimidating." "Doctor?" Ross smiled. Alex had no idea how intimidating he actually was to most aliens. His presence at diplomatic meetings had changed the entire tone of Earth's negotiations with other species. Trade deals that had been stalled for months were suddenly approved in Earth's favor. Military alliances that had seemed impossible were now being offered freely. "Have you been following the news from the Vrax Empire?" Dr. Ross asked. Daleks shook his head. "Not really. Why?" "Zexthel has requested permission to come to Earth. He wants to train with human instructors." This got Alex's attention. He looked up from his datapad with surprise. "Really? Why would he want to do that?" "He says he wants to understand how." He was defeated so easily. He's not the only one. "We've received similar requests from warriors across the galaxy. They all want to learn human combat techniques." Alex laughed. "What combat techniques?" I just hit him. There wasn't any special technique involved. Dr. Ross pulled out her own datapad and showed Alex a slow-motion video of his fight with Zexthel. The footage had been analyzed by military experts from dozens of species, and their conclusions were all the same. "Look at this," she said, pointing to the screen. "Your reaction time when Zexthel charged was inhuman by galactic standards. You moved exactly when you needed to, not a moment before or after. And the force of your punch was calculated at over 2,000 pounds per square inch." Alex watched the video with mild interest. "Huh, I guess I hit him harder than I thought." "Alex, do you understand what this means? Humans aren't just stronger than we thought. You're stronger than almost any species in the galaxy. Your reflexes are faster, your bones are denser, and your muscle efficiency is off the charts." "Okay," Alex said, still not seeing the big deal. "So?" Dr. Ross sighed. Getting Alex to understand the significance of his abilities was like trying to explain color to someone who had been blind from birth. To him, his capabilities were normal because every human he knew had similar abilities. "The point is that Earth's status in the galactic community has changed dramatically. We're no longer seen as a primitive species that needs guidance. Other civilizations are actually afraid of us now." Alex looked skeptical. "Afraid of us? Why?" "Because if one untrained, exhausted human can defeat their greatest warrior, they're wondering what a fully prepared human military could do." Several species have already upgraded their threat assessments of Earth from harmless to extreme caution required. This was news to Alex. He had been so focused on his new job that he hadn't paid attention to the bigger picture. The idea that his little fight had scared entire civilizations seemed ridiculous to him. "That's stupid," he said. "I'm not scary. I'm just a regular guy." "That's exactly what makes it scary," Dr. Ross explained. "If you're just a regular human and you can do what you did, then what can Earth's special forces do? What about our Marines, our Navy SEALs, our special operations teams?" Alex thought about this. He had met plenty of special forces guys during his training, and they were definitely tougher and more skilled than he was. If aliens were scared of him, they would probably have heart attacks if they met a real soldier. A communication alert chimed on Dr. Ross's datapad. She read the message and frowned. "What is it?" Alex asked. "The Galactic Combat Championship has been restructured. They've created a new category called Deathworld Species Only and banned humans from competing against non-Deathworld fighters." "Why would they do that?" "For safety reasons. After your fight, they realized that putting humans against regular aliens was like putting a professional boxer against a kindergarten student. It's not fair, and it's not safe." Alex found this comparison offensive. Hey, Zexthel wasn't a kindergarten student. He was supposed to be their best fighter. And that's exactly the problem. If their best fighter couldn't last 40 seconds against you, what chance do their regular soldiers have? The implications of this were starting to sink in for Alex. His casual victory hadn't just been a fluke or a lucky shot. It had revealed something fundamental about humans that even they hadn't understood about themselves. Another alert chimed, this time on Alex's datapad. He read the message and raised his eyebrows. What now? Dr. Ross asked. I've been invited to speak at the Galactic Military Academy. They want me to lecture on human combat doctrine, Dr. Ross laughed. What are you going to tell them? Alex shrugged. I don't know. Hit things hard, don't get hit back. It's not exactly rocket science. You might want to think about it more seriously than that. Your words are going to be studied and analyzed by military strategists across the galaxy. Alex closed his data. Patton finished his coffee. The responsibility of representing humanity in the galactic community was something he had never asked for, but it seemed to have been thrust upon him anyway. Can I ask you something? He said to Dr. Ross. Of course. Do. You really think humans are as dangerous as all these aliens seem to believe? Dr. Ross considered the question carefully. Over the past 3 months, she had studied human evolution and biology more intensively than ever before. What she had discovered had both amazed and terrified her. Alex, humans evolved on a planet that most species would classify as a maximum security prison. Everything on Earth is either trying to kill you, eat you, or poison you. The weather can kill you, the animals can kill you, even some of the plants can kill you. And humans not only survived in that environment, they thrived. She paused, looking out the window at the blue marble of Earth hanging in space. Every human alive today is descended from survivors who lived through ice ages. Plagues, volcanic eruptions, meteor impacts, and countless other disasters that would have wiped out most species. You're not just adapted to survive on a Deathworld. Alex, you're the apex predator of a Deathworld. Alex followed her gaze to Earth. From space, it looked peaceful and beautiful, like a perfect blue jewel floating in the darkness. It was hard to imagine that the same planet was considered one of the most dangerous worlds in the galaxy. I never really thought about it that way, he admitted. Most humans don't. To you, Earth is just home. But to the rest of the galaxy, it's a nightmare world that somehow produced the most dangerous species they've ever encountered. Alex stood up and stretched. His new assignment was starting to make more sense now. Earth didn't need him to be a super soldier or a tactical genius. They just needed him to be himself, to show the galaxy what a normal human was capable of. I guess I should go prepare for that lecture, he said. What are you going to tell them? Alex thought for a moment, then smiled. I think I'll start with the basics, like how to throw a proper punch. As he walked away, Dr. Ross shook her head in amazement. Alex Murphy, the tired cadet who had accidentally become the most feared human in the galaxy, still had no idea how much she had changed everything. And maybe that was for the best. The last thing the galaxy needed was for humans to realize just how dangerous they really were. Outside the station, trade ships from across the galaxy waited patiently for permission to dock. Their captains had come bearing gifts and offers of friendship, all hoping to stay on the good side of the species that had produced the sleepy destroyer. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted, and everyone knew it. Everyone except Alex Murphy, who was just happy to finally be getting enough sleep.